want you to keep in mind that this is someone who is so gentle, such a sweet, sweet, loving soul. I'll say one story before I get into it, that every single night I said Yosef was on a mission. And so you would think that right away he would want to go home the moment he gets to base, like, okay, I'm out of here. But I only knew this afterwards. Yosef always came home smiling and happy and so happy to see me. One of his friends told me that one time they were in the office after a mission on a Thursday morning, so Yosef could have gone home right away. And the friend said to him, Yosef, what are you doing here? Go home. Like, why are you, like, dilly-dallying? Because he really was dilly-dallying. He was doing things he could have done on Sunday. And Yosef said, I need to take a moment to calm down. I was just on the battlefield. I don't want to go home in a battlefield mindset. My wife deserves better. So I have to go home when I'm calm, and then I could be the best I could be for her. So that just goes to show you that he held so many truths within himself. He was this incredible, brave, strong, giving soldier, and all of those things at home too, but in a home context of just being so sweet and so kind and full of jokiness and having fun. Yosef loved to prank me. And you'd think that it would get old, because I always had the same reaction. He would hide behind walls and scare me, and I'd always have the same reaction. It never got old for him, and it definitely never got old for me. Like, he just brought so much light into every single space that he walked into. So I want you to keep that in mind when I'm telling you the events of October 7th, so that you know that beyond Yosef, all of these people that you hear about that did these incredible, brave acts are normal people who have so many sides to them and so many qualities to them. And yeah, so that's just important for me to say. I'm going to start from October 6th. It was Friday, and it was Sukkot, and Yosef and I really loved sleeping in the sukkah. Now, we had, in our apartment in Jerusalem, we had a teeny tiny mirpesset, a balcony, that Yosef tried to build a kosher sukkah on, but his grandfather, who's a rabbi, said, I'm sorry, it's not kosher. Yosef was so bummed. So his parents built for us our own sukkah in their house in Beit Shemesh. So that's where we spent Sukkot. And so we were there on Friday, and Yosef played basketball with his brother because they were on the same basketball team in Beit Shemesh. And then we went on a bike ride. Yosef's family has a tandem bike. It's like 2 seats on one bike. So we love doing that together, especially in the area of Beit Shemesh. I really recommend beautiful hills, like just green flowers. A little bit hard, but if you have a strong boy with you, it's all good. So we were doing the bike ride. Every single time we did this bike ride, Yosef would do a lot of the work, and I would try, but always at the end, there's always a hill up to his parents' house. And he would always say, okay, I'm not pedaling. The last push is on you. You have to do it. And I would always be like, no, Yosef, I'm not strong with you. I can't do it. And he would say, you're so strong. Yes, you can. You got this. So then he would really stop pedaling, and I would pedal, and somehow we made it back to the house. And for me, that really, I'll just say, is the way that I see things now also. That he really he's saying, you got this. You're stronger than you think. You could do it. And that's where I get a lot of the ability to do this. As you should know, I'm not a public speaker. So that happened that day. And then I said to him, on our way back to Jerusalem before Simchat Torah, like, let's go on a date. Let's do something nice, just me and you, because he was out from the army. It was like, an opportunity. So we went to these food trucks on the way. And as we were parking, we saw a friend of his from the unit. And he said to me, like, I think he was saying because I was an army wife, he said, Am Yisrael thanks you. And I said, no, you guys do all the work. Like, I sit at home, but thank you. And he said, no, Am Yisrael thanks you. Okay. We go into the food trucks, we have like a cute little meal, and then as we're leaving, Yosef gets a phone call from his commander. And the commander says, I'm really sorry, but something came up, and we need you to be in Shechem tomorrow at 2 p.m. So just know that you're not going to be able to be home for the whole holiday. And I was really disappointed because this obviously would happen all the time, but it was disappointing. I wanted him to be home for the holiday, and I knew his family was going to be disappointed. And so I told him that I was upset, and he said, Am Yisrael thanks you. And I said, okay. You're right. Yosef always just knew his sweetness and his goodness was so authentic. He was never performative. And he really meant it. And I knew that he really meant it. And that was all that really mattered for me. So I knew, okay, I can do it. I'll be okay. Anyways, so we went home. We went into Chag. It was such a gorgeous Chag. It was beautiful. Friday night was gorgeous. Lots of dancing and singing. And Yosef was just so himself. Like, he loved dancing and singing with the Torah and all the people. It was like the thing that filled him up with so much love and joy. And we talked a lot about the Gula that night. It was always at the top of his mind. His last conversation with his brother, it was about to be elections in Jerusalem. And they were talking about who to vote for, who's going to bring the Gula. So that was really always at the forefront of his mind. And then that next morning on Shabbat, we woke up at Yiddish. We were in Jerusalem. We had no idea what was going on. But Yosef always had his phone on, especially when he was on Kwananut, like, to be ready for whatever the army needed him for. We woke up to a phone call from his commander again. And he said, listen, there's a situation in the south. There's hurt soldiers, so just be ready. And I saw Yosef's face fall, and Yosef never looked like that. He always was calm and happy. So I knew that something was wrong. So I asked him, and he told me what his commander had said. And I said, okay, we don't really know what's going on because it's Shabbos. Like, let's wait and see, but like, don't tell anyone in shul. Like, we don't want to scare anyone. And we really hoped that it was like a one-off, like, chas v'chalila, that anything worse would happen. Like, we didn't know. His phone was on for phone calls, but he wasn't going to check the news. And then there was a siren in Jerusalem, which is strange. Like, until now, there really weren't so many sirens in Jerusalem, so we knew something was weird. But there was just one, and so then we walked to shul. We ran into some friends on the way and some family, and everybody knew that Yosef had his phone on him, so they're asking him what's going on. And he felt this responsibility also to protect people, like, physically from harm, but also mentally and emotionally. So he tried to calm everyone down. He said, I don't know, I think everything's fine. It's just a situation down south, but I think it's okay. Then we walked to shul, and when we got there, basically right away, there were sirens over and over and over again. At which point, after like 5 sirens, was like, okay, he told me I need to call my team and see like what's going on with them, what I need to do. So he called his friend from the team who said, I'm driving to base, and Yosef said, Tov, so I'm going to come with you. So Yosef started heading towards the house to get his stuff ready and get in the car, and he told me, you could stay at shul. And we'd always joke that we had FOMO, like, from each other. Like, we didn't want to spend a moment apart from each other. So I was like, no, I'll come with you to the apartment. So we started walking. We ran into his parents. They gave him a bracha. And at some point, after like 2 minutes of walking, he starts running. And then that's when I knew something strange is going on, because why are we running on Shabbos? And he was still himself, and he turned to me and he said, are you having fun running? Is it fun we're running? I was like, I don't know. Anyways, we got home, and Yosef got his stuff together, and he met me downstairs, and we had made cinnamon buns together the day before, so he had like half of the bag of cinnamon buns. He said, I hope it's okay, I'm taking the cinnamon buns to the army. And in that moment, everything was so strange and so confusing and different, but I felt like, okay, like at least I'm helping in some way. Like, at least he could have the cinnamon buns. And he gave me a hug and a kiss. He said, I'll see you soon, I'll probably be home tonight. And I said, okay, and he drove away. And that was the last time that I saw him. And usually Yosef would make a big show of things whenever he would leave on Shabbat. He could never roll the windows down because he never did any extra malacha, but he would always wave, love you, bye. And this time he really drove away right away. So I was starting to understand there's really a situation here. Anyways, I went back to shul. I didn't turn on my phone the whole day because I was used to Yosef being away for Shabbat. And maybe naively, but I'm grateful for it. I had no idea what was going on that day. I heard rumors here and there, but I chose not to listen to them. And I just davened that everything would be okay. I thought, to all my knowledge, that Yosef was in Shechem just a little bit earlier than planned. And I thank God for that, for the naivety, because I really just wasn't feeling nervous. I was nervous for the situation as a whole, but had full calm about my husband. From Yosef's perspective, so he drove to base, usually 45-minute drive was 15 minutes, he was there. He got his stuff together really, really fast, and then he got into a car with whoever was ready. He didn't wait for his team. There was one guy from his team, Guy, and then initially they were with one other guy, Ro'i, and they just drove down south. They didn't know where they were going exactly. And we heard afterwards from Ro'i and Guy that there was like tons of traffic on the way, and like they would just swerve around the cars. At some point, Yosef took the wheel. At some point, Ro'i was driving, and they just got there as fast as they could. Usually 2 hours. They were there in 45 minutes. So they got there around 11 in the morning, and they were in and out of the kibbutz 3 times. And one of the times that they were in, they found a man in his 50s on the ground. He had, just so you understand, the people that came that day to the south are all heroes, every single one of them. This man was in the Shabbat. He heard that his ex-wife and his kids were stuck in Kfar Aza. He left the house on his motorcycle without any weapons, and he said, "I'm going to save my family." And this man was shot in the chest twice. So when Yosef and his team found him, they were called over by a policeman who said, "There's an injured guy here." The man was he was staunching the bleeding on his own. He had been doing that for hours, and he wasn't so conscious at that point. And we have a video from their helmet cameras of Yosef and Arush, who joined them at that point, who also was killed that day, carrying him into the vehicle. And in the car, you hear Yosef saying to him, "Stay with me, stay with me." And that man is alive today. He's totally well. He's walking, he's talking. He has, he's traveled the world. And Yosef and I we didn't have kids, but to me, he's like a child in a way, because Yosef gave him life. And we keep in touch whenever we travel, we tell each other. And he's an important part of my life. So thank God he's alive. And that was the second time they went into the kibbutz. The third time, they went around to the back, which was the most hard-hit neighborhood. It's where a lot of the hostages were kidnapped from. This was after they had been kidnapped, but there were still a lot of terrorists like in between the houses. So they were, making sure that all those terrorists were eliminated, and also trying to rescue anybody that was there, as well as trying to take any weapons off of the ground, because any weapons that are on the ground can be used by terrorists. Essentially, they saw a weapon on the ground. They went towards it. They were ambushed and shot at from the side, and their vehicle started going up in flames because they were shot. An RPG was shot at them, which is essentially a small rocket. And then they had to evacuate the car, and some of them went to the right, and Yosef ran straight. And that was all we knew for a long time. That Yosef ran straight, and at some point while he was running, he was killed. And then a year later, on October 7th, 2024, we saw a Facebook post that was going around that said, "Hi, I'm in Santanim, I'm a paratrooper. I'm looking for the family of a soldier that saved my life." At about 2 p.m. on October 7th, I was, in my emda, and on the fence of Kfar Aza, there were lots of terrorists shooting at us, and we were about to just give up, essentially, when all of a sudden a soldier came running out of nowhere, and he shot at them, and they shot him, and I don't know if he's alive, but he saved our lives because he scared them, and they all turned around and left. Either they were killed or they turned around. And then he described the soldier, and because of the timing and the description that he gave, we understood that it was Yosef. For me, it was like, nothing is a circle being closed, because it'll never close. The pain is always there. But for me, it was just like this moment of clarity. I already knew that Yosef was the bravest person I knew, and I already knew that he was the type of person that would give everything for somebody else. But to know that in his last moments, he saw those terrorists, and he didn't have to run towards them, but he did. He ran towards them, and he scared them from doing anything worse. No more terrorists came in through that gate after that. It's a sense of pride, a lot of pride, and just being amazed by him. So I found out only on Monday. Well, I guess another important thing to say is that Yosef, they didn't know what happened to him for about 3 hours. They lost contact with him. And eventually the rest of his team from Dukdeman came and they put up a drone. And they saw somebody lying down wearing tzitzit, and they knew that it was Yosef. Now I'm saying this because Yosef wore tzitzit every single day of his life. When it was really, really hot, he would wear tzitzit. When he was in the army, in all of his layers in his uniform, he wore tzitzit, including that day. So basically, the learning that he gave to other people from how to use the drone, and basically wearing his tzitzit, they were able to find him, which is a big deal because when they saw him lying down, they also saw terrorists trying to kidnap his body. So his tzitzit and essentially Yosef saved us from having a much more complicated story, both logistically and more just complicated emotionally. No situation is better than the other, but I'm very grateful for the fact that we were able to bury him when we did. So I found out on Monday, and that Saturday night, I had gone to bed and I texted Yosef, I don't care when you call me, just call me, tell me that you're okay, because I didn't know what was going on with him. And we had done a few times like that he's on an important mission and he doesn't have his phone, so I assumed, okay, he's just busy right now. And I went to bed and I had a dream over and over and over again that he was calling me from a friend's phone, and he was laughing and he was smiling at me, and he was saying, I'm okay, I'm just tired, but I'm okay, don't worry about me. And so I woke up in the morning and I felt like, okay, he's really okay. So again, I was worried about what was going on, but I just felt a sense of calm and clarity that he was okay. And I still feel that was his way of telling me that he really was okay. And there are things that I don't understand, that maybe I won't ever understand. I don't know how it works when you die. I don't know how it works, I don't know how any of it works, but I know that I don't need to know, and I know that he did what he did, and I'm so proud of him, and I wouldn't change our lives at all. I'm very, 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 very endlessly grateful that I had him in my life and that I still have him. I feel him around me all the time, like all sorts of experiences and stories where I just knew that he was with me in a way that is inexplicable to a certain degree. It goes beyond logic, and it goes beyond, like just the physical world. I feel him with me all the time. Since he passed, I have found a lot of strength in sharing about him. Also, just from speaking to people that knew him, people that didn't know him, I feel that he gives me this continual gift of strength and presence by doing this. And I feel his light all the time, I really do. Which is why, despite me being so nervous every time I come and speak, it means the world to me, because I get to tell people, even if it's just the tip of the iceberg about Yosef, and I see that it leaves an impact on people, which is just a credit to him. One of my favorite things that people tell me that they often take as a lesson from him. When we were dating, we would always spend time outside. Yosef loved showing me all these places that he found in Eretz Yisrael, from high school and from training in the army and from whatever it was, from his family. He loved showing me around, and so we were always outside, and he would always pick up 2 pieces of trash every single time. And I would always ask him, why are you picking up, at the first time I asked him, why are you picking up 2 pieces of trash? Like, pick up one, pick up none. Like, I was just curious, like, why are you doing this? And he said, well, I probably dropped so much trash on the ground in my life, so I might as well pick up 2 pieces for every one that I dropped, and then I'm making a difference. Which is just so sweet and so special and so simple and so doable. And I shared that a few times, and the amount of messages that I got, like, hi, Senai, you don't know me, but I pick up 2 pieces of trash every time that I'm outside, is just like, it's just amazing. And it makes me feel so, I feel Yosef's presence when I know that. So it's an honor to share about him. I feel him extra when I get to share about him. It's an honor to share with you about him. And I'm gonna finish off, and then if there's time we can get questions, I don't know. I'll finish off by saying something that he wrote about Yom HaZikaron that I hope will make an impact for you. I found one of his journals from school. He wasn't such a big writer, but he had a lot of notebooks from Mechina when I was sitting Shiva, and I opened it up to a random page, and the page that I opened it up to was about Yom HaZikaron. and it basically said the point of Yom HaZikaron isn't just to cry about what happened and about how people were killed. Obviously, that's a major part of it, and it's okay to cry, and it's, I think, important to cry, but it's also about seeing that those people had so much strength, you know? They had so much strength to do what they did, and therefore we have so much strength, and we can do amazing things too. Is what you know. So I hope that you're able to take that and see for yourselves that you are all capable of so much, so many amazing things. There's elokut in each and every one of you. God created you in His image, and that's no small thing. And you are capable of so many amazing things endlessly. The sky's the limit, really. So if you can take that or anything else from Yosef, that's the whole point of why I'm here. And I thank you so much for your time.